Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And I'm Callie, also known as Calsters.
And today is Sunday, May 27th, 2018. This is episode 308. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, thanks for checking us out. And we hope you enjoy the episode today and you'll come back in the future. I always keep this till the end of the episode, but since, we're getting back into the swing of things with Callie being back, let's just mix up the intro a little bit. Where you can find us, you've obviously found the show somehow, but just as a reminder, you can always find the show and show notes at dramaticknits.com. We also have the show available in our Ravelry group where I post an episode thread with a YouTube link, and you can find it on YouTube and or iTunes where you can subscribe, leave comments, and give us a thumbs up or a star rating on both, which will help spread the word about the Dramatic Knits podcast. If you've not already joined the Ravelry group, please do so. We're over 2,000 members, and I think we have... I don't want to say we are over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I think we are. So, that's where you can find us. So, let's get into the past 2 weeks for myself, and the past, month for this one over here. I had all these things I wanted to say, and I can't remember what. I don't know anymore. Life has been crazy. I told Callie we've had like little house issues like every couple of days. Joys of home ownership, where like the whole front wall of our downstairs electricity wouldn't work one day. Our thermocouple in our water heater went out. We have water backing up in our basement. So just dealing with that, and I think since we talked last, Andy was up in Indiana for his dad's birthday. It was his 65th, and nothing was really going on, so his dad kind of hinted, and Andy went back and spent the day with them. And then this last week we set up a trunk show at our local yarn store, Les Moutons Rouge Knittery in Bloomington, which is still being hosted till Tuesday, but she's closed tomorrow, so Tuesday afternoon we'll be wrapping that up. But we set that up, and then Andy and I had actually planned to kind of have a date day on Friday, and we were going to see a movie. We're going to see Deadpool 2. We were going to go to Bloomington and have lunch, and we were going to go get flowers for the porch and the yard and whatnot. And we got word Thursday night that Andy's dad he went to the hospital, not feeling well, couldn't breathe. But Andy was, kind of waiting to hear word. And then we got word as we were leaving for Bloomington on Friday that his brother was like, yeah, Dad's not doing well. He's got pneumonia. He could barely say a few words before, running out of breath. So Andy and I went and we did have lunch and got flowers for the porch, which I think look really nice, and we're going to plant some new bushes and things. So we spent our usual, springtime budget, which is, well, whatever. But then we came back and he immediately hit the road and went home, and, has spent the last 2 days there, but he should be on his way back tonight. His dad's doing better. From last I heard, he wasn't in a bubble, but a sort of like a bubble, and had to wear masks, and they had to switch his meds and whatnot. But anyway, so there's been that drama. So I've been home working, and yesterday at Les Moutons Rouge Knittery, designer Dallas Ann Prentice, who goes by the Violet Pie, was at the store doing a trunk show, and so I was there in attendance as well to kind of support our trunk show, and she has designs out of our yarns, so we pretty much knit and got to hang out for the afternoon, which is cool, because people were in shopping, where there's also a yarn crawl going on, so there was a lot of new faces, but so that was good. Last weekend was Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival. That's where I got this shirt. This was their logo this year, super cute. So I got a long sleeve shirt. Andy got one from 2 years ago because they ran out of his size, but It was a really good event. The people in Kentucky are so nice, and we're so just happy for the event and to be there. It rained. From what I hear, it rains every year. There's like a barn, and then there's a pavilion where they put up like those wedding tent sides. It was hot and humid, and I think part of the reason is we hadn't acclimated to the heat and humidity yet. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Because the week before we were in Minnesota, and the high on the Friday in Minnesota was 47, and then I was in 86-degree heat with really high humidity, and so like I was cranky for, a good deal portion of it. It downpoured both Friday and Saturday. Friday we were setting up, we were stuck in the pavilion for like 45 minutes before Andy just took off his shoes and was like, well, I'm gonna wade through the puddles to finish unloading the van, because he knew I wasn't gonna do it. And Friday it rained, but people come out rain or shine. They have their umbrellas, they know what to expect. So you best not by spilling.
No, it didn't. It's slid.
Oh. Okay. I just heard it. I was like, I know it's water. Anyway, so that's been my last 2 weeks. I mean, it's just been here, there, and everywhere. And it's not going to get any better the next month. But I'm excited for where we're going and what we're doing, which I'll talk about later, and all the travels. But this was like my one weekend to just kind of relax, and I did a little bit of that last night and today. I died all day today, but I didn't go gangbusters, and I worked on my granny square blanket, which I'll show you, and yeah, so what have you been up to? We missed you. Thank you, by the way. I was catching up Callie about my sister being on last episode. Thank you to everyone who commented on her appearance on the show, and she rolled her eyes every time I was like, you got a new comment, and she just rolled her eyes. But I know I certainly appreciated it, and I know Amanda did too. So, good to know we got a backup Callie for whenever you're unable to make it. So
yeah, Mandy's pretty great if you have not had the chance to meet her in person yet. So, yes. I was telling Steve that I haven't gotten to watch the episode, but I saw that on the screen grab for the cover of it, she was on. So
you probably did a double take, and we're like, "What? That's not me."
A little bit, because if you if Mandy and I are kind of in the same vicinity. I mean, Mandy does her makeup all the time, and I clearly don't. But sometimes there's a couple of times where we've been in fairly closely dressed the same, or something that I probably would wear, Mandy's wearing. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. No? I have. Anyway, it's a girl thing, I guess. So, anyways, yeah, life has been really busy. Work is going. My new work wife started a few weeks ago, probably about the same time that we last recorded. She's doing okay. There's a lot to learn in her part of things, so that's going, and she's doing well. And I took a vacation, and that was exciting because I didn't check work email for a whole week, and that was both very liberating and challenging, because I knew that there were some things that were going on behind the scenes that no one was quite telling me about, because they didn't want to ruin my vacation, which I greatly appreciate my work family now doing, because that was not the case a year ago.
I was going to say, ask Kelly how many vacations she's taken without checking her work email.
Yeah. If you want to guess, it was this one. Just this one. So I was very excited and pleased with myself. I actually texted my now mid-level boss. She was my work wife. It's so weird to I'm still catching myself realizing that I need to go to her instead of anyways, that's refreshing. And I texted her and asked her how the week was going. She said it was going pretty good. And she said, don't check your email. Nothing is happening where you need to know about it. So I was pretty excited about that. And also, the change on the team has been great. Like, the negativity that was on the team is gone. She's still being petty and being, quite frankly, a general jerk face, and that's light terms if you know me in person, because there'd be much stronger language. But like, it's, as a team, we're really doing well, and that makes me happy. So I went to the Lake of the Ozarks. Our family has a cabin down there, and I spent a whole week doing nothing and not having schedules, and that was pretty great. It rained quite a bit and stormed quite a bit, so where we're at on the lake is like, we're 2 levels up from the actual lake, but it's all gravel roads to get there, and so when it rains, it often washes it out. And I am 5'4.5" tall, and so this is important to note. So, like, the ruts on the side of the road, if I were to stand, my whole leg would be down in the rut, and like, I could literally sit on the road, like, and have my whole leg extended and still flat on the ground to the rut. So there was a guy in a Ford truck, one of the like industrial size ones, not like kind of for commercial or it is for commercial use, that like couldn't even get his truck down there, and they had to have a grader come and like regrade the road. So it was kind of a bit of an ordeal, because the neighbors 2 levels below us, where they're literally step outside their back door and the lake is right there, they were actually stranded for about 4 days because there was no access to get in or out. So that was unfortunate for them, but they did very well. I mean, they're well-to-do, and they had like every luxury that you could think of there. They had enough food and water, so that was good for them as well. I mean, the road situation kind of sucked for everyone that was involved. But yeah, it was great. Went thrift store shopping, found a lot of really awesome stuff. Went to Haha Tonka State Park, and that was great. I mean, that's something that we've gone and done as a family for a while, but since I did it by myself, it was neat to see. So if you follow me on Instagram, most of the photos came from there over the last week. And yeah, it was a great time. It's relaxing.
It's good.
Pretty much all I can say about that.
It was well-deserved and much needed, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, knitting, that's what we're here for, right? Since we've caught you up on our lives, let's get to the knitting. What's taking a bow? I only have one thing, but it is a decent-sized object. So I finished my April Showers cardigan by Dallas Ann Prentice, whom I just referred to having a trunk show. And I knit it using Leading Men Fiber Arts Show Stealer, our merino cashmere nylon blend, in the Turkey Run and Orchard Slope colorways, on a size 6, which is a 4mm needle, and a 4, which is a 3.5mm needle. And here it is. I did the size medium, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. My one thing I would do is the pattern. I found out from Dallas that when you submit to Knitty, Knitty ultimately has the final say in how they present the pattern. And so there were things like, it didn't say bind off loosely, so I thought maybe it wanted structure. I would have bound off loosely around the whole collar and the arms. This is a shop sample, so it's not a huge deal. And it did fit Dallas Ann, whom she knit a medium for herself. But me trying to get my man arms through here, I almost couldn't get it off. It was struggle be real, because it's just, there's no give. So, you know, that was something that Dallas Ann was like, yeah, kind of put that in there, and then it was omitted and things. So, which, you know, you've got to hand over those rights when you work with some publishing companies. But the other thing that was a big difference was the suggested yarn allotments. This said for the medium, on Knitty, it said it was 3 skeins for the main body and 1 skein for the contrast. I used just over 1.5 skeins of fingering weight for the main color and about a half a skein for the contrast. And that was another thing Dallas had said, that they pad their yardages a lot more than she does. She does normally 10%, and she's like, I think Knitty does about 20% padding of yardage, which means that a designer will normally add in 10% more yardage to their designs to take into account slight gauge differences. So if a pattern calls for 400 yards of fingering, or say they used 400 yards, they may write in the pattern that you're going to need 440 yards, so that, you know, in case you don't have their exact gauge, you'll be okay. But again, it seems like Knitty padded it even more than that for this. So you can see here the bottom is knit sideways, and you've seen it for a while if you've been watching, but yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's going to start going on the road with us, and it is a free pattern, so you know, it'd be nice to be able to have a sample and go, you can go right online and get that.
That's awesome.
So,
The finished object photos looked really nice with her.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, can you model it for me? Because I don't want to put it on a mannequin, and I've got you here, and it's your size. And so we went outside and the side of the store and just quickly snapped some photos. And then she's like, can I get a picture with you? I'm like, yeah, let's. So we're both trying to take selfies, and we both have like big glasses. And so what do? We're like clunk glass. It was just, you had to be there. It was cute. And so, yeah, so thank you to Dallas Ann for designing with our yarn and do an amazing job. We actually, because we got to sit and talk for most of the afternoon, we have some new and exciting things coming down the pike here later this summer and into next year. And we were brainstorming a lot of stuff, so I can't wait to see what she comes out with here in the future. So, all right, that's all that I finished.
I finished some dishcloth that I didn't bring, but I'm actually 2 ahead of the schedule amount, so I'm pretty excited with that. Been working hard on catching up and depleting the cotton stash that I didn't really have before, but now because of the Yarn Hoarder Dishcloth Challenge I acquired, because I was like, I don't have enough to do a whole year's lies that I told myself. So, yeah.
Oh. Well, what is performing this episode? What am I working on? Well, as we're podcasting, I'm working on a new swatch. I actually had cast this on, and then I had to put it on a spare needle, which I just knit off of when we started here, because I had to knit next month's colorway swatch, which I have to show you later. But I finished that. It's not Blackjack, but then I'm working on this one again. This is Tiny Dancer in our box office base. But it won't even be in the show notes. It's just a swatch. So the first thing I want to show you is my ribbon wrap, which is by Illy Tilly, and I'm knitting it with Leading Men Fiber Arts box office in Darkest Hour, Nude Scene, Poseidon, and Into the Woods. And I can't remember last episode if I had finished the first section, like the first part, the first piece, or not, which looks like this. And so you can see here the construction, and goes over here, and we put this on a spare needle because we're going to have some grafting going on in garter stitch. I've never done grafting in garter stitch, but I worked on this at knitting / the trunk show yesterday, and then I came home and I watched 2 movies and I worked on this, so I gave it some attention yesterday. And so I am here on the second piece, which is awesome because I had no color added yesterday. So I got all that striping done. It's all garter stitch again. Such an easy knit, but it's all in the construction. The pattern is well written, and you get such a really visually stunning object in the end. So, and that is knit on a size
8.
9.
Oh.
5.5 millimeter, which is what I thought. And then I was like, maybe it's a 10. But that's one of my new projects.
It's really pretty.
Thank you.
And those colors are very close to my heart because I clearly have worked not with Leading Men Fiber Arts, but my Mitered Crosses blanket were done in very similar colors.
Very true. All right, next up is my Suburban Wrap by Joji Locatelli, and I'm using, again, Leading Men Fiber Arts, but in our monologue base, which is a superwash merino, silk, and yak single-ply fingering weight. And I'm using the colors Fortune Teller, Glow Stick, and Sea Turtle, and I'm knitting that on a size 6 US 4mm needle, and I think I finished all the lace. I'm so excited. Not that it was hard lace, but I have to think more than, well, when I'm up here concentrated, I don't mind it. When I'm at shows and I'm like, have to drop things down and whatnot, then I'm like, not the right time. So, where am I at here? I haven't woven any of my ends, whereas the ribbon wrap, I've woven in all of my ends, other than what I did last night. So, here we are so far. Oh, look at this. So it starts over here with the lace and the fishtail, and this is knit with all the same stitch count throughout. So you cast on all the stitches, it's all done with increasing and decreasing, and then you go into some striping, and then some eyelets, and then some texture, some eyelets, some texture, some striping, some lace, some eyelets, some lace, and I'm about to go into some striping. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is just so, look at that. I mean, I really like this.
It's pretty.
So, there's that. I'm all about the wraps these days. Like, seriously. Next is Architecture, and that's by Jennifer Weissman, and I'm using Black Cat Fibers Nomad Sock in the Demeter gradient. And I'm about hit the halfway point. And I'm knitting this on a size 5, 3.75mm needle. Hasn't gotten a whole lot of love since we've seen each other last, but here's this one. So their gradient is more of a color progression, and it's 10 mini skeins. So I'm in the 5th color. I'm about to go into the 6th. So that's why I'm halfway through. Kind of the same shape, but a little not as wide. So it's more scarf with a bunch of textures, hence Architecture. Don't shake your head at me. That's the pun in the title. Oh my God. I'm just pointing it out. Anyway. My hedgehogs. Then I cast on a new project, and it's not going to look like much, but it's kind of a substantial project. I cast on the Plucky L. Andy was throwing enough shade my way that it needed to be knit up. If I was gonna, doesn't need to be sitting on a shelf. So I balled up all the Plucky, and I cast it on. And I'm knitting Crevasse by Plucky Knitter Designs. They generously gifted me a copy of the pattern when they kitted me up with this yarn, Stitches West. And I am working with 2 colors, Pure Michigan and Be Steel My Heart. Both of these are in the Plucky Knitter Halo Worsted, which is a 100% cashmere worsted weight. And these are 50-gram balls, so I bought 8 of them. And I cast on, and here's what I have left of the first ball. In about 8 rows. So you cast on like a bunch, like over 300 stitches. Because I think it's just a broad top. Like they're slow increasing, but it's cool. It's simple. But you could do it with a lot of colors. That was the original design. You could do it with 2, which is a little more subdued. So yeah, a bunched up. This is the longest interchangeable needle I had on my Knit Pro Zing Melodies of Life. And you do a little garter, and then you do some doing stockinette, and every once in a while rows you're doing some increase decrease every couple of stitches, so it's going to give kind of a wave to it, like a chevron. So, ooh, it looks like a ruffle. Sorry, I can't stretch it out anymore or show it to you any more than this, but it's nice. I really like it. It's soft, but I mean,
It's nice.
I'm not like, oh my gosh, it's cashmere.
You're not rolling in it.
No, but it's nice. But it's gonna be for Andy's mom for Christmas, and she'll be able to wrap herself up in it. She pretty much lives now just on the bottom floor or the main floor of her house, and she has three. I mean, she's got a basement and then a loft space, and they even have a little turret reading room, which I won't go up in because I don't like those spiral staircases, especially when you're hanging over an open loft area.
That's my jam.
But it's a beautiful home that her she's a widower, but that her husband built, and they spent years building it together, and they have a silo attached to the side of their house, and just before he passed they finished the bathroom she always wanted up there with like heated floors, and now it's just the struggle of whether to stay or leave because it's a lot of house for her, and just waiting for the market to be the right place. But anyway, so she's kind of moved downstairs to the one bedroom down there, and she's on the main floor, but it's a big open space, and so she turns on the furnace or the
air conditioning
fireplace in the winter, but then she's like, within 5 seconds I'm boiling, and then I don't want to turn on, so she wears her hand knit socks, and now she's gonna have a cashmere stole. And anyway, last thing, you want to see my granny square blanket? Because I put a couple squares on it today. I'm super falling in love with this.
You can totally tell which arm I was driving in the sun yesterday.
Usually is how it happens.
Well, this side was burnt on the way down. This side was burnt on the way back up.
Alright, so my granny square blanket is looking like this. I'm on the second row.
Nice.
It's going to be 15 squares wide. Look at all this. I'm so falling in love with it. I love the border. That is what does it for me. The color differentiation, where it really separates out the colors. So I can see always having one of these guys. So it's going to be decently wide. My plan is to do 15, it's 15 wide and do 20 rows. So that's 300 squares. And I'm not repeating yet. I'm putting all the ones that I have extra yarn to the side in here. And in my new, showed you last week, my Ghana Crazy basket. I have my other basket you may have seen years ago that has a nickname, but I'll be PC and won't say it on the podcast. But that houses all my minis, and now this lives in its own basket because it's gonna grow. So, though my arm gets a workout going like this because I wind off my neck and hand wind the 20-gram minis or 10-gram minis that I get, because if you put it on the ball winder, it just so. But yeah, that's what I'm working on, and I'm using a C hook on that because I wanted it to be smaller and a tighter gauge, and I'm enjoying it. So I finish one and then I put it on. I finish one and I put it on. So
that's awesome.
That's all that I'm working on. Project bag drop.
I'm only actively working on 2 things right now. I am working on just plain sock. This is the watermelon tourmaline by Vesper. Steve got this for me, or gifted this to me several years ago. I tried starting a sock. I didn't finish it. I ripped it out, rewound it, and it's been sitting in a bag, so I threw it in my bag of projects to take down to the lake with me. And this is what I worked on primarily. So I got a decent bit going, for pretty much being lazy. So that was nice. I'm using 0 DPNs, size 0 DPNs. So, because I knit at a loose gauge. So there's that. And then the other project that I have going on is the Friend shawl. And it is by Spruce Lane Designs. This was, the designer of the shawl is the same one that I did my switch DK weight shawl that I just finished. And I'm using Monostel Uruguay and the colors, just want to make sure, foil, and then cactus flower. So, really like both of those. And I'm knitting on them on a size 5 US hook, which is our needle for 3.75 millimeter, and it's turned out really nice. So this is how far I am.
Cool.
Yeah, it's got some lace in the border, and then striping and more lace, and then it'll switch out here in a little bit. So I do really like it, and it's really soft. I could have probably used a bit of a different. I could have probably gone up a needle size, and it would have gotten even drapier, and that would have been fine. But just knowing the way that I knit, I probably was not going to have enough yarn if I would have done that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to err on the side of caution, and who knows really if that is going to, I mean, who knows at this point. Because I didn't gauge swatch for this because what I like about Spruce Lane Designs, other than I really love all of the patterns that she's created, but she actually gives you in the like beginning of the pattern, if you don't have enough yarn, this is where you need to stop to, you know, still make it look aesthetically pleasing. And so I really appreciated that for that. But yeah, it's super easy to do, but I just haven't given it much attention. I was working on this a lot prior to going to the St. Louis Cards game, which was my first baseball game that I went to last week, on the 22nd, or on the 19th of May. So that was a good time. So, but I haven't worked on it much since. So, yeah.
Cool. So what's in rehearsal? I'm just going to work on some swatches. I've got some large projects on the needles, and I kind of want to get the project number down a little bit. So what's in rehearsal for you?
I actually said that I was going to test knit for Josh Ricks, and that didn't get to happen. So I'm hoping to knit that, only because 1, I said I would, 2, I really love the pattern, 3, I bought yarn for it, and I'm really jazzed about the color combos for that because Kelly from Les Moutons Rouge helped me pick that out, and it uses some hedgehog, and my like a colorway that I couldn't like justify buying because I didn't have like any plans for it, but it's hula hoop, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm excited. I can't wait. I don't think Josh has released the pattern yet, but it is really stunning and gorgeous, and it uses finger weight yarn, and it uses a large needle size, so like the people that were testing it definitely finished it within like a week or 2, and they all had varying times of amount of knitting, so it wasn't like this person, you know, has a job where, you know, required them more or less knitting than say another test knitter. So varying levels of knitting in terms of years knitting as well. So it's a pretty straightforward pattern. I just didn't have the time to do it just because of work situations, and yeah. So, but it is a gorgeous pattern, so I can't wait for him to release that. So yeah.
I think I've only ever done one of his, and it was a mystery. But I have quite a few of his in my library, and I did get to see him a couple weeks ago, but he just kind of hopped in the booth and hopped out and said hi. But he was teaching, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move into behind the scenes, my spinning. I finished the first 2 ounces of Highland Handmaids, 40% superwash merino, 40% merino, 20% silk in the Lakeshore colorway. So I brought the bobbin over. This is what the fiber looks like, the other 2 ounces. Blues and greens and sand color, Lakeshore. Who would have thunk it? So yeah, I'm spinning it. I'm going to do a 2-ply, and this I just spun half from the braid, and the others I will split it into strips. So that's what I'm working on in terms of spinning. Seems like that one was going, I feel like I'm doing that a little bit thicker, also because if I try to go thinner or I end up going thinner at all, like that silk just goes, and then it's a hassle to try to be able to thread it back through the e-spinner, and you just keep, as you're trying to unwind it, you're just losing the twist, and so then it just keeps falling. I'm like, I did make a purchase that it was coming through Amazon. I bought a decently, in my mind, expensive, but it was what was recommended battery pack. And I'm like, well, we have one for the business, but this is a second, but it's for my e-spinner. So I can now potentially travel with it. So I might take my e-spinner to SSK or bring it to shows and spin, because that's, Sarah of Yarn Geek Fibers always spins at shows on her e-spinner. And it's really easy to just press the pedal and get up and help somebody, rather than, like I said, lace is hard to do when you just pick it up or drop it down and pick it back up. All right, in the scene shop, other crafting. I'm working on my cross stitch, dimensions kit, live life in the moment. I'm working on life, so I'm doing the bottom section, slow but sure. Yeah, it just goes slow. So, but I'm enjoying it. So there's my progress for this episode. I'm stitching this on a 28 count even weave. Came with 14 count Aida. I'm doing it over 2 rather than over 1. Are you doing any other crafting?
I'm not. I did try some new recipes while I was down at the lake, and that was great. I tried a garlic parm recipe that I wasn't too sure how it was going to turn out, and it turned out great. And I also tried a new pasta salad that I was pretty keen on too. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. In the spotlight, right? Yeah. What are we watching and reading? We're still watching Grace and Brinky. Still enjoying it. Still makes us laugh out loud at dinner, so that's good. Watched 2 movies last night. The first one sucked. The second one was okay. The first one you don't know anybody in. I don't know if it's a Netflix movie or not. I just showed up. It's called Family Blood, and I'm a sucker for scary horror movies or whatever. It's a vampire movie, and it's nothing new and poorly acted, and don't give it the time of day. But in case you're interested, I did link it to IMDb in the show notes. So the next one was one that I saw previews for when it came out. I guess it was back in 2015. It didn't seem like it was that long ago. Called The Gift, and it stars Jason Bateman. And I remember being interested in it because it is a thriller and it's a drama. And Jason Bateman is known for comedy. You might know him from Arrested Development and the Boss movies. What's that? Anyway. It was okay. It was about an old... moving back to a hometown, meeting an old friend, and he's kind of a bit much and on the side of stalkering and payback, and when you don't let bygones be bygones and that type of thing. So I enjoyed that one a lot better. I was super excited to finish watching that in my dark house when no one else was home either. It's not used to being by myself anymore. But I was put on my big boy pants and went upstairs and went to bed. And then I finished listening to a book. It's called, let me read it for you because it's got a long title. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. And Michelle McNamara, I guess, this is my first time reading an actual true crime. Michelle McNamara was known for starting a blog about serial killers and cold cases. She was the wife of Patton Oswalt, who's an actor. She passed away during the writing and researching of this book, and she was the one who dubbed the Golden State Killer with that title. He has a lot of titles, and so I was intrigued, and it popped up on the new, on Audible, and I had heard about everything behind this, and they just caught the Golden State Killer after so many, 50 years almost. 50 years not being caught and having raped over 50 people and murdered over a dozen, and
home burglaries were on that rap sheet too, I think.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I will say that I appreciate the editor's job of putting together her notes and trying to put it together in a way that was cohesive. I do feel like if you don't know much about the story, it is hard to follow because it kind of jumps around, because he did have 3, if not more, significant chunks of his criminal activity in his life, and I did not know all the terminology he had, so I kept thinking they were talking about somebody else and comparing him to this person. So that was interesting. But it also does focus on Michelle's story and, again, her obsession to find evidence for this case. So I did enjoy it. I think because of the fluidity and following the story, I think I might have given it 3 stars on Goodreads. I would have easily given it 4 if I was able to kind of follow along a little bit better, but there were times that I kind of zoned out and then had to find myself again. So, but yeah, I would definitely recommend it. There is a intro by Gillian Flynn, and there is an afterword by Patton Oswalt himself. So I definitely suggest the audio, but there does come with the audio PDFs of things that they referenced in the book, but I think that would probably be more beneficial in the actual hard copy of the book. I did not actually take the time to look at PDFs because I was working, and so, but yeah. So yeah, first time giving true crime a shot. We'll see. Again, this was a little bit of a different circumstance, so I will definitely be probably trying some true crime in the future. I always hear Barb and Tracy of the Two Knitlit Chicks talking about their true crime books. So, what are you watching or reading?
I'm not really watching a whole lot, but I am trying very hard to finish my Goodreads goal for this year, and I'm way behind. So what I often like to do is go into my local library in town and just kind of peruse. And in complete honesty, I'm not a huge fan of our new head librarian. I don't necessarily agree with her book buying policy. And I'm going to leave it at that because that makes me sound like really snobby, but it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan of her. And so she has this like purge system that I also don't agree with, but again, I'm not going to get into it. But oftentimes I will go in and I will find some of the oldest books that look like they're going to be about to be purged, but unless someone puts them in rotation into circulation again, and I'm that person. And so I checked out this whole series of books, and they're from the kids section, but I never read them when I was a kid. But they are by a man with the last name of Burgess, and it's a specific name, but it's like Tales of Peter Cottontail, and like it's a whole like animal series, and they're highly dated, but I was like, I wouldn't mind reading these because they look like 100 and some odd pages of easy like Goodreads get me to the goal finish line, and they're gonna be still in circulation. So I mean, like, win, and just in general, I was like, let's do this. So I checked out, like, there's like 8 of them, and so I checked out all of them. And then I'm reading, it's called Marvels by the same man that wrote The Invention of Hugo Cabaret and Wonder, and I love his style of writing. Brian Selznick is, I think, the author. But I love it. I love his style of writing. I love his illustrations. So I'm almost done with that. And I'm trying to think. I started also reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a
F word.
And because my cousin gave it to me while we were out in Kansas City, and it is hilarious, and I also find there is nuggets of truth to what the author is actually presenting. So that's what I've been reading.
Cool. Now to your favorite part of the episode, stash enhancement. I've got some, again. But as I told Callie, I think it's going to dwindle, unless it's mini skeins, because I think I've crossed that threshold this past weekend in Kentucky. Like, literally got the side eye of
I will kill you in the parking
Not
lot?
like I'm gonna kill you. Like you really have an. It's like you really have an issue. This needs to stop, or we are gonna have an issue. And I was like, okay. So, because he like, he always gives in to me. And so he gave me cash, and he's like, no trading, you get a budget. Fine, go. And I was like, okay. And then I kept trading behind his back when he would leave the booth. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do for yarn.
This is like the Pimp Chronicles.
Like, seriously, I was like, I saw another vendor walking through our booth, and I'm like, I'm just saying I like this. And I was like, is just saying, if you bring it back to the booth, we can trade. I was like, don't tell Andy. And so, like, she came back and she, like, hand slid it, while I was checking out a customer and, like, Anyway. And then, of course, I can't keep anything from him. So, like, I'm like, look at that. And he's like, where did that come from? And, anyway. So, and some of these vendors were super generous to you all, which is going to benefit you. So, yeah. So the first thing, I got some minis from Yarn Geek Fibers because I have yarn from her that I haven't knit yet, and I love her fiber, but I still have a couple of braids. So she had some minis, and I loved her dyeing style on these, and they look like this. They're all subtly different, speckled with that gray tone, while one's blue-gray. This is her Super Geek. It's a Superwash 3-ply fingering, 75% Corriedale, 25% nylon, 60 yards. This color is, let me see if I can say it here. She names a lot of her colorways after, like, geeky people, like people in science and mathematics and stuff. This is Nazia Mahmoud. This one is... They want to be married together, sorry. Ada Lovelace. And this one is Grace Hopper. So. Yay, more minis for the basket. Put them in the basket. And then, sorry, I have to refer to my list. I put them in a certain order. Bumblebee Acres Farm. We love these ladies. It's a family-run farm. A group of sisters and their mom do all the vending. Not sure who, I'm assuming other family members run the farm. They're really taking the traveling circuit by storm as well. They were at Maryland the week before Kentucky, and that's awesome that they got in. They're going to be at Estes with us in a couple of weeks. They're also going to be, I think they're going to be at Hoosier Hills this weekend. But we see them at so many shows. And usually down the aisle from each other. Anyway, we were chit-chatting, and they wanted something of mine, so I had Andy go shop for something of theirs, and Andy brought back fiber. He brought back some of their fiber from their farm, which is Cormo. And this is a braid, 2-ounce braid of colored Cormo top, 2 ounces from their flock. So it's brown, exciting, it's soft. And then he brought me, I've never spun from these, Rolags. 2 ounces in the Midsummer Night's Dream colorway. And they were talking about how they do their Rolags. Like, I've done a few Rolags for our shop, and I have a blending board that I need to rehome. So if you're interested in a blending board, message me. But they don't totally blend theirs. They just kind of lay it, and they do it in strips. So it should almost kind of self-stripe when you spin them. So I'm super excited to work with that. So good choice on Andy's part. And that was from Bumblebee Acres Fiber Farm. And then Twist Fiber Studio. I have seen her at SSK a couple years ago. She was there, and she does a lot of East Coast shows, so we kind of met in the middle on this one. And she brought me, I told her just pick out a color, and we did a swap, and she got a bag. And she brought me a skein of her Fairview Fingering, which is a 75-25 Superwash Merino Nylon, 463 yards. And this she does show colors for all the shows she does. This was for Kentucky Sheep and Fiber, and it's the Funky Kentucky colorway.
Nice.
And she brought over actually 2 skeins. One is going to be a future prize for you all. I'm in one of our giveaways. So it's got purples and a little hints of red and teals and greens and pink and yellow. I mean, it's cool.
It's gorgeous.
So, not sure what I'm going to make with this yet, but so there's that. And then Yarns, B, capital B, A, capital H Yarns, which is for Brenda and Heather Yarns. I believe they're sisters, friends, family members. I'm not sure, but it's Brenda and Heather, I believe. I've seen them at a bunch of shows too, and they are actually on the board for Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, and they're going to be vending this weekend as well. And they do self-striping and gradient yarns, and I feel like I went to their website today for show notes, and I'm like, they do not get the recognition that I think they deserve for, they're doing things that a lot of other self-stripers or things are doing, but they're doing it all. Like the mirrored gradients they're doing self-striping, they're doing shawl in a ball kind of things where they actually do the math. So when you knit a triangular shawl, your stripes are the same color. So I just feel like, yeah. But anyway, this color's been calling my name since YarnCon, and I've seen them twice since then. So this was the kind of on the sly trade. But this is a Star Wars reference. Does nothing for me, I just like the colors. But this is called Jedi. And it is their Targ Heel base, which is 90% superwash Targi and 10% nylon, 400 yards in 100 grams. It's a 3-ply fingering weight. Now, what's cool is they give you a little picture on their label of how it's going to stripe up. So, and they said that she's like, it's funny because they had this was the light side and they had the dark side for Sith. And she was like, that's more popular with the black and red. And I was like, yep, I like this one though. And there's a little stitch marker that comes with it. So it's got aqua and a spearmint green and brown and tan. Self-striping.
Their booth is really interesting because I did go to it in YarnCon, and I remember going, man, I really want a lot of stuff from here. But it was a little overwhelming because I didn't have a project of mine for it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I'm kind of getting back to buying yarn. That's how I was very intentional when I first started, and then I kind of lost myself, and now I'm trying to go back to that.
Kits.
Yeah.
That's why I do kits. Or self-striping, because,
Yeah. You at least know what you're going to do with that.
Speaking of self-striping, there's a self-striping vendor right next to us. And as we're setting up, I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty. And then I, eventually got to the point where I could see their sign, and it was Rock and String Creations, which I've heard a lot about. She's from Kentucky, and she was super sweet, and we got to chatting, and of course, she had, open back shelves right next to our checkout, so, we could feel, and we'd kind of steal things and put them back, but, yeah. And she'd move stuff around, and then she got she had little cuffs of samples of all of her self-striping. And I wanted 6 of them. I got 1 because she's a little more pricier of a self-striper, but I also got her 2 half skeins that perfectly match. So again, that's a little bit more. But we saw the sample of this, and it was completely cool. And Andy fell in love, and these are totally Andy's colors. And so, I used my money on my budget to get this. But I got Rock and String Creations Matchy Matchy Super Sock, which is again a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 230 yards to a 50 gram skein, 460 yards total in the Campfire S'mores self-striping colorway.
That's totally Andy.
Now, it goes from campfire orange, red, yellow colors into the graham cracker, chocolate, marshmallow graham cracker colors. It's pretty cool. It's even got speckledness to the marshmallow that's toasted.
I'm kind of jelly.
It's really, really neat. So, yeah. Just really cool. Was really impressed with that. So, liked her booth. And so I got that. And then we got to meet a wonderful lady, Nicole, who is behind Medusa Yarn and Fiber. And Andy totally geeked out all over her because she is a professor at a university in South Dakota, I believe, but she's on sabbatical because her husband got a new job, and so they're in Kentucky now. She's not sure if she's going to go back to her current teaching position, but she studies medieval history. And so there was something about the Templars, I don't really know, but something about the Templars and her research, and she's writing a book, and he just about lost his ever-living mind with her, and they got to talking. So Nicole is the owner of this yarn, and okay, so it was super cute. I enjoyed her setup because she's a newer dyer, and so she didn't have like an overwhelmingly stocked booth. But again, Medusa, and I walked by and I was like, now that's cool. I like a kitsch to a setup sometimes. And she had like those Greek pillars with bowls of yarn on top throughout, and you could walk through. So it was very just, cool. It worked in, that kind of drapey fabric of like Greek togas and things. So I walked by several times and I liked a lot of what she was doing, and she kind of came over to our booth and was geeking out with us, and I just went to her website. She's got a picture of the three of us, a selfie we took on her website. And she's also on Etsy. And so Andy went over and I was like, trade with her, she's super nice. And so he's like, okay. And I mentioned about our podcast. She does a podcast as well called The Professor Knits. So you should check that out. And so Andy came back with 2 skeins because she donated one, which I'm going to show you. And I was like, oh my god, I totally wanted this one skein. And I said, you did good on this one. This is her worsted weight. It's 100% superwash merino, 100 grams, 220 yards in the colorway Chaos. And it is such a dark, rich blue with highlights in it.
It's gorgeous.
I am loving this and cannot wait to find the perfect hat project for it or something. So, and her label's super cute too, her logo. So, that I got. And then I'm going to show you what she gifted as the podcast giveaway, because it's going to be part of the giveaway. Yeah, part of the giveaway this episode. The last thing I had in Stash Enhancement was a gift from our friend Megan Williams. She is Just Run Knit Designs, and she's also one of the co-hosts of the Stockinette Zombies. She's one of the organizers behind the Zombie Apocalypse, which I'll be going to here at the end of June. And she's just an all-around great lady. So she just released a new sock collection called the Sock Synergy Collection, which has 4 patterns in it. And so she gifted me a copy and has graciously gifted you all a copy of the collection. So just wait for it. But anyway, I want to show you these 4 socks. They're super cool, and I was like, yes! And then I realized they're toe-up, and I'm not a toe-up knitter. Now, I realize I could probably do some math and figuring it out. So let's just say if I ever get on the toe-up bandwagon, I'm going to be knitting these. So these are really cool. Probably could be done with 2 half skeins. It's a lot of slip stitches and things of that nature. And just so exciting. So the whole package retails for $14.93 for the 4 patterns. That's not a bad deal. That's like $4.93 a pattern. Or somewhere around there. The individual patterns are $4.93. So the first one is the Belong Together socks. And it looks like they have cables or mock cables there. Again, striping a variegated or speckle with a semi-solid. And then the next one I really liked. Radiant Love socks. And these have a really cool slip stitch texture. Again, you're going to want to click on our link in this week's contest and episode notes so you can see these better. Also, if you're not following Just Run Knit on Instagram, that's a great place to follow along. These ones are cool too, the Rise Up socks. Again, that mosaic knitting is all the rage these days. So I really like that one too.
They're gorgeous.
Loving them. And the last ones I think are super cool. Plus, I like that she did this sample with self-striping yarn. I think she did. Or maybe she just used scraps. Now I want to know. Anyway, looks like a self-striper. And these are called the Slip Slide Splash socks.
Those are cute.
And I was catching up on their podcast. She was working on these as she was podcasting. So, really like those ones. Probably my favorite. So yeah, 4 awesome designs featuring slip stitching and just really, really cool. So this week we have a prize featuring 2 prizes. So Nicole of Medusa Yarn and Fiber has generously donated a skein of her merino cashmere nylon fingering stock weight. Again, 100 grams, 435 yards in the colorway Electra. Oh my gosh. If I didn't love that blue, if that blue didn't catch my eye, I would have totally been all about this. Because it's got my jam written all over it. So, yeah. Electra, you get a skein of yarn, as well as the Synergy Sock Collection by Megan Williams. So, to enter, there is a thread already up in our Ravelry group. You must be a member of the Ravelry group. You can only post once per person, and it must be posted before we record again in actually just over 3 weeks, because I am going to be on the road for about 10 days without coming home. So it will be Monday-ish, but I say before Sunday, the 17th of June, I believe. We won't be recording that day, but it needs to be in by then. The prompt for this prize is I want to know what colorway do you like of Medusa's yarn, and I've linked to her shop in the contest. So you can go onto her Etsy shop and take a look around. What colorway do you like best? And which sock pattern would you knit? So you have to, it's a 2-part answer. Make sure you answer both parts or you will not qualify. Okay? Awesome. So that's this week's giveaway.
Good deal. Very appreciative of both of their generosity.
Yeah. Fiber community is just amazing, and if you are a maker of any kind, or a designer, or stitch marker person, makes soaps, anything, and you'd like to donate to the podcast, we would graciously accept your donations. You can get in contact with either me, Dramatic Knits on Ravelry, or
Calsters.
Calsters.
Yep.
And she can get you her information as well. So we'd graciously accept that and give your business a spotlight on the show. So, all right, next up. Last episode, we had a giveaway for the book Betsy Beads. And while this was not, my jam, a few of you wanted it. So, it was not a tough race. I mean, there was like 17 of you, 16 or 17 of you. I think there's 16 in total. So, the prompt last week was, what is the longest amount of time that you have slept for? Because I kind of felt like this book was a snooze fest for me, but not for you. And interesting to hear, some of you are like, oh, I slept 10 hours once. And some of you are like, I've slept a lot longer than that. So, the random number generator picked number 4, who is Raven Diva, and that's Tyra from Chicago. So congratulations, Tyra. And she said she thinks the longest that she's ever slept was probably about 20 hours. She goes, I was preparing for my graduate thesis, and between stress and making everything perfect before my submission deadline, I was up for at least 2 days once I submitted it. I cleaned my apartment and zonked out. The only reason I woke up was because I was starving. First of all, congratulations.
Yeah.
Second of all, wow. Third of all, you cleaned your apartment before you slept after being up for 2 days? Come on now.
You don't have to do it when you get up. That's ingenious.
Or you don't have to do it at all.
I applaud your effort in being a human being and trying to be clean.
I applaud your effort. I'm just like, if I haven't slept in 2 days. I mean, I guess that's how some people unwind. I get it. Anyway, congratulations, Tyra. If you would please message me on Ravelry Dramatic Knits with your first and last name, mailing address, and if you would, an email. That way I can send you tracking for the prize when it ships.
Cool.
All right. May is coming to a close, but our May 2018 Race to the Finished Object contest is currently open and going. I know I started it a few days late because I was out of town. Did you ever get that prize thread up? I don't think so. I just thought of that.
I just thought of that myself, so as you said it.
So there may be another prize thread up that's a little couple
I'm sorry.
6 weeks late.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm sorry. It has been really chaotic for my life and haven't really talked about it, so.
All right, so the May thread is open. All you need to do is post a photo of everything you finished this month. Each photo gets you a separate entry into the drawing. We'll have 2 prizes. The first one will be a physical prize that we mail out, be pulled from our prize pool in this closet behind us. The second will be a pattern from our featured designer, who this month is Corrado Lark. And you can find a link to all of his patterns on Ravelry via our show notes at dramaticknits.com. So...
And he's got a pretty awesome Instagram channel you should check out.
And he's got his own podcast as well,
Yep.
which again I still haven't. And he's an amazing singer, so.
His Instagram live stories are pretty great. I enjoy them.
Are they live?
Live.
I'm just saying,
Of
are they
his
live? Are his stories live?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that.
Okay. Really, I'm using the hip lingo,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
you're
say,
having a hard time with it.
No, I was like, you're trying to be hip? Ship
I
has
am hip.
sailed.
Do you see my shirt?
Ship has sailed. You're not subbing, you're not teaching anymore, you aren't low to the ground.
No. I've had a few kids graduate and Facebook friend me. I'm like, boy, you guys sure waited to graduation. And then I was like, I thought graduation would be next week, but it is this week. It seems early. I don't know. And then, of course, I accept one kid, and I get all of these rando profile accounts trying to friend me, and I'm like, really? And, of course, the one kid that I friended and it started happening with is, like, the nicest kid who was an honors kid and, like, super quiet and, like... Anyway. And then I get these...
Not great kids.
No, just really fake profiles of women with...
Ample chest.
Yeah. Barely covered and, you know. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we move into center stage?
No, I can't think of anything.
Alright. So let's move into center stage. All things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I want to show you our next month's colorway, which is going to be released next Friday, June 1st. This Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say it's this Friday.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to be out of town. So because we travel so much, I have to figure out how to, like, make sure that the listings go live, which is something my sister can do. But then it's also, I've got to make sure that emails and stuff for wholesalers go. Anyway, I was like, oh, we're going to be gone. I was like, are we leaving Friday morning? No, we're leaving Thursday. Okay, so Andy came up with this colorway, and it's a true variegated, not a speckle or anything fancy like that. It's a true variegated, and it is called Wilderness. And I think he's home, even though he didn't text me. So here's Wilderness. It is a very dark teal, brown, and small undyed sections. And here's what it looks like in the skein. So,
It's pretty.
yeah, something different. So I'm really enjoying that. And I was funding it up. And it'll be available June 1st through June 8th. And if you have a local yarn store who subscribes to our monthly subscription service, they will be getting this in within the first week of the month. And if your local yarn store does not carry Leading Men Fiber Arts, you should pass along our website and or contact information. And we will get them the information they need. We've got some new shops we're working on right now, which is super exciting, in Washington and New York, and a couple online shops that are focusing on indie dyed yarns. So
That's exciting.
If you're ever wondering if a yarn store carries our yarn, like say you're traveling, or if there's anything local to you, at the bottom of our website is a tab that says retail locations, and we have all of our shops listed by state in alphabetical order. So you can kind of take a look around there. All right, so that's the new colorway. I do want to tell you that spinning fiber is slowly creeping its way back into the shop, and it will be very limited runs when we do it. We are working on finishing dyeing some fiber we've had on hand, but we said when we get caught up a little bit, we would bring back fiber, and so it is now in Andy's realm of dyeing, and so he did a few braids. We've sold about half of the braids we dyed and put up. He only did Falkland this time. I know we have some Corriedale, I think, left to be dyed, and then we'll see what we bring in. So again, it'll be a very little bit. They will be going to shows with us. Again, very small amount. It's not going to be something we focus on. It'll be something when the instance occurs to Andy and he wants to do it, he will do it. So we'll not be taking custom orders or wholesale orders on fiber once again. So it's just kind of what's available is there. I do want to talk to you quickly about gradients too. I did a new gradient set which is now available in the shop. It's not at the trunk show. That are not true gradients. They're more color sets or progressives, and I'm using a really cool designer picture color, chrome thing and pulling inspiration from there. So I dyed up my first set, and I'm really pleased with it. It's called Cactus Garden Lanterns, and it was pulled from a photo of lanterns in a cactus garden, and I'm really super happy with it. So take a look out for all those shawls ideas or mini skeins or so upcoming shows. Are you ready? I've got a few to throw at you because I'm going to be gone for a while. That's why it's going to be 3 weeks before we record. This weekend in Franklin, Indiana, which is just south of Indianapolis, we will be at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival. This is our second year, and they've completely sold out of spaces at this event this year. So I definitely suggest you come out and check out the festival. That is June 1st and 2nd. It's a Friday and Saturday. So it's not a Saturday, Sunday, it's a Friday and Saturday, and I have linked to their website on our show notes. Then we get to go up to northern Indiana on Sunday for our niece's birthday and come back on Monday. And then we hit the road later that week for Colorado, and we are heading out to Estes Park, Colorado. Never been to Colorado before. Trying to be okay about the potential of driving through mountains. I hear it's beautiful. So we're going to be at the Estes Park Wool Market June 9th and 10th. That's a Friday and Saturday. We only have a 10x10 booth, as that's all they would allow us for our first year. So we will have a limited supply. We'll have our most best-selling bases and things. We will not have our complete setup for that booth. So if you are local, though, and you want to see our complete setup, that next Monday through Wednesday, we will be having a trunk show at the Loopy U in Fort Collins, Colorado. So Monday morning, we're getting up and driving to Fort Collins, setting up our trunk show, which is our whole entire booth. And Sherry there has been very gracious as to allow us to come in and do a trunk show. She is supposedly supposed to be setting up, I need to email her, some sort of meet and greet event on Tuesday night. And then we'll be tearing that trunk show down on Wednesday evening. And then we will be hitting the road on Thursday and driving to Iowa and setting up on Friday for the Iowa Sheep and Wool Festival, which is in Ames, Iowa, and that festival runs Saturday, June 16th and Sunday, June 17th. So you can check us out at the Iowa Sheep and Wool Festival. That's our first time there as well, and we're excited to be there. We've heard good things about the venue. It's a new location for them, and that they're really trying to, bring the festival together this year. So if you are in Colorado or Iowa, we hope you will stop on by, or I know some people travel in for Estes, so I'm excited to kind of get a feel for these new festivals and whatnot. So and then we're gonna have to sneak a recording in there on Monday, and because I leave on Wednesday of that next week for Rochester, Minnesota for Zombie Apocalypse. When are we gonna dye more yarn? I just keep scheduling more shows.
Good problem to have.
Yeah. We had 3 weeks off in October. I think we have one now, which is Rhinebeck weekend. So nothing's official. But I hope so.
I'd be super jealous if you did.
But if I go, I will literally be gone that weekend, fly home on Monday, get in the car on Tuesday to drive to North Carolina, do SAF, then drive to Southern California outside of LA, and home. I will be gone for 3 weeks out of my home, other than one night. And I was like, we could book another show on the way home from California and just stop in Texas. And then he looked at me and was like, no.
I would
Anyway,
agree with that.
overworked. It's so much fun though.
Cute.
Anyway, so you can check the running credits at the end if you want to know where you can find us on social media and or where you can find show notes. So until we see you in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks or so. Wow, can I get my words out? We hope you
It's something.
dramatic.